slow news week, Rupert?
Yeah, dominated by, I don't know, World Cup, maybe dominated a bit by Wimbledon, but what's been going on in the royal family? Anything?
Welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show that dives into two of the most fascinating royal couples, well, on planet Earth. But this time, I'm not covering it from Hollywood. I am here with Rupert Bell in the UK. Rupert, what a pleasure it is to be with you IRL.
Well, I'll tell you what, in the same months too, practically. We were trooping together, but we didn't record a programme in situ that week. And then, of course, now this is our annual get-together. Normally, we're in a pub down the road, so they're making me drink water for the next hour. But I tell you, given what's been going on with the last week, I need something a little bit stronger than a glass of water, because it's been the most extraordinary week with the family from America, and also lots of good news stories, it has to be said,
yes,
about the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Let's start with the Prince and Princess of Wales. We've seen both of them. Catherine, in her element, we saw her engaging with children that are sick, which is really, we know that how strongly she feels about the Early Years Project, but in this particular case, it's Catherine engaging with not only children, but children, some of them dealing with cancer. So there you're ticking two boxes that are incredibly meaningful to her. And we're saying, we're going to see the Prince of Wales, as far as I know, multiple times this week, potentially Catherine too, I'm not sure, but I know we're going to see the Prince of Wales multiple times this week. Almost 30 engagements for the working royals this week. A little suspicious that they're out and about and keeping really busy, do you think?
The cynic in me would probably suggest it's been quite a good PR move to make sure that they're seen just getting on and doing the things, like we saw William at a Welsh language school in London the other day, obviously in his job as Prince of Wales.
With a unicorn.
Exactly, so we saw him do that.
Yes.
But I've just spent a week's work at Wimbledon. Well, obviously we see the Princess of Wales there, backing up, following on from the Three Peaks Challenge, and she's still getting an awful lot of good news fallout from that, because let's be honest, it's tough, and there's nothing to it. I mean, but obviously she's now getting very really fit.
Yeah. And
we know she's a tough cookie. She has to be, given not from the physical side, but all the stuff she has to contend with gives her a mental fortitude. And I think that's been most impressive. Anyway, if we saw her at Wimbledon, but it was interesting. It was a sort of, obviously a public event, but under the radar, in that she wasn't sitting in the royal box that day, which, as we record this, we'll be expecting to see her maybe at the men's and women's finals on the Saturday and Sunday. So that would be more formal. As we record this, the Queen has been there today in her capacity.
And Peter Phillips, yeah.
Which is interesting, given that they're in town, and obviously with all the Harry stuff going on. But so she's been there. But I did like that trip with the way she went about it, going to the queues, which is such an integral part of...
Princess of Wales, yeah.
The Princess of Wales, integral part of the Wimbledon experience.
I was just talking to somebody that said that their 31-year-old, I think he was 31-year-old partner, camped out overnight for it. That it's like an ordeal, like a major event that you camp out overnight and then you're exhausted the next day, but you're doing it for Wimbledon.
Well, that's part of the rite of passage for many people. And you see them queuing up. It used to be, when I first go to Wimbledon, they were just parked up on the road, on the pavement, and you'd sort of grab your pavement slot. And sleeping on a pavement, maybe not, but
you wouldn't do it for Lady Gaga tickets?
No, I wouldn't. I'm not sure I'd do it for anybody. I don't. I love my art, I love my music, but I'm not queuing up overnight. My camping days are behind me, so I wouldn't. But the Wimbledon camping experience is a big thing. So she was there, she was at the queue, because one of the things that is...
And she gave tickets to people in the queue.
Well, I think she just worked the pay machine.
I think she actually did give some people tickets.
Well, yes, I suppose she can probably get access to ground passes.
And then also I saw, which I thought was really sweet, and I wondered if they might get in trouble for it, Harry and Meghan's cousins, the Spencer girls, when they left, they took their passes off and gave them to people in line, which looked really sweet. But are you going to tell me, as somebody that represents it, that is a no?
What they do, but it depends. They might be in debenture, so I don't know how that works.
Right.
So
I don't think they were in the royal box.
No, they weren't in the royal box, but they would have been, because they're sort of the influencer element of Wimbledon is off the charts. It's unreal. And, you know, for an old school sports journalist, okay, we're talking, I do go, influencers everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and you see it, you know, it's a celebrity hangout. And so the influencer side of it, and obviously the Spencer ladies, they obviously have a huge following.
Giving
their ticket, if it's debenture, I don't know whether that's a no-no. But what does normally happen,
it did look nice that they did it.
Well, they're not stupid. Good PR.
Yeah.
But normally what happens, if you leave Centre Court and you have a normal ticket, you can then say, I'm leaving now, and then people can queue to come on in the evening who've been queuing, and then they will get a chance. And I think it's a way of raising money for charity, because you pay something like £10.
Oh, that's nice.
And so the profits from that go straight to charity. That is what I believe happened. So you can get onto Centre Court.
That's the proper way to go.
Don't
wait for a Spencer to hand you a ticket.
While being filmed doing it.
Yeah. Very good point.
But what we did see was they do this overheard at Wimbledon thing, which is basically they mic up some unsuspecting. Well, I wouldn't say miking up the Princess of Wales. They must have agreed.
Yes.
Do you mind that we record your conversation? You've got Tim Henman and you've got Debbie Jevons, who's the chief executive, and they're just shooting the breeze. But it was quite interesting what they were shooting the breeze about, sort of aspects of Wimbledon. But then we did hear her talking about her Three Peaks Challenge with Tim Henman, who, for those who don't know, was he's obviously very involved in the club, but he was a terrifically good tennis player. He got to world number 4. But if you listen to the clip, the Princess of Wales does reference Pete Sampras, who unfortunately was always able to beat Tim Henman. And it was sad because Pete Sampras at that time just would bomb these aces down, and Tim Henman would have no answer. They got to world number 4 and was a terrific player. So you had a conversation about that. Then the sort of Princess of Wales, which I thought was showing typically stoically British. Whatever the weather, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, talking about how she was soaked through her clothes when she was doing this challenge.
I imagine she had some good waterproof clothing. And then I saw something online about people saying, well, it must be fake because she's changing clothes. Well, the point of the Three Peak Challenge, you start in Scotland, you go to the Lake Districts, and then you end up at Snowdon. So you've got time in the car, and you get out to change clothing.
Right.
So it's nothing, you know, so fair play.
I'm not sitting in moist pants, Rupert. I'm not doing it.
Moist pants, interesting expression. But anyway, hate that word, pants.
Pants is the word you hate.
So anyway, yes. Anyway,
moist trousers. Rupert and I's new band
moist
name.
Trousers. Pants mean something different over here.
Oh, I don't want to know.
Yeah. Anyway, but so I think that was quite a charming little over, and I'm sure it will have got millions of views. But you were right, your initial thing about saying they do seem to be making sure that they are seen. Now, Wimbledon is an easy place for the Princess of Wales to be seen.
And we're talking about Dominic, is it Dominic Cummings? What?
Dominic West.
Dominic West.
Dominic Cummings, completely different. Oops.
Dominic.
This is not a political podcast.
Right. Somebody's been watching Talk too much since she's arrived in the UK. But Dominic West, who's such a dreamboat, also played King Charles in The Crown, rolling up and just looking exquisite. It is, anyone who is anyone is at this event.
Well, and he's in the royal box, which is interesting because obviously playing the king, and it's the king's wife sitting in the front row of the royal box.
Oh, how funny!
If you think about it.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know whether during those.
I wonder if she accidentally goes home with Dominic West, because I would.
When he played the king, was the episodes of The Crown, was it featuring his affair or the relationship?
Yes.
So therefore, Dominic West is in the royal box, while sitting next to.
And they feature the leaked phone call and everything.
Yep. So.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Yeah, we won't go there.
Rupert is like, we're not going that far south. We still got to get to Prince Harry.
You use the word moist.
Oh my God, Rupert! All right.
Anyway.
It has been such, even Queen Camilla with the Winnie the Pooh event, which is just so wholesome and sweet. King Charles in the tank. I mean, they truly pulled out all the stops for this week. Visually, they are dominating. And I mean, I know realistically, yes, we're going to talk about Harry. Everyone's talking about Harry. But the way that the royal family ups their game with service is impeccable.
And, driving around in a tank, quite symbolic. If you think about it, particularly with... If you
F around and find out.
And then sort of with Harry around, here am I.
Yeah.
Maybe just sort of thinking about it. The whole thing, they have absolutely just quietly got on with what they do, but you do feel saying, look, let's just make sure that we are seen and heard. And the Princess of Wales is doing her bit, which is a no-brainer, Wimbledon. We are seeing the Prince of Wales doing a few things. Their children are now on their holidays. And, but I sometimes do say that even when the school holidays are on, they do need to still, because everyone else has to work.
Well, they are. I mean, they're working in my opinion, working themselves to the bone. And I think from an American perspective, there are going to be people that try to criticize the family for not seeing Harry if they don't see Harry. There will be people that go, William and Harry were 12 miles apart today. And it was 12 miles apart today or yesterday. I haven't slept in 3 days. They're all just
Well, no, basically they're in the same vicinity. And
Yeah.
it sounds like the King might be at Windsor anyway or somewhere.
Yeah.
Or Clarence House. So it could be logistically possible if
But if you're an American and you just don't understand the why can't the King see Harry? Visually, it is great to see them busy working and doing things for causes that are for somebody else. Doing things that it's more than them. They're promoting cancer charities. They're promoting whatever, and so you can process. If you have common sense, you can process. Oh, they're busy.
Yeah.
They're just busy.
Well, the Three Peaks Challenge, physically, I'd be very interesting to know if she was charity or how she was raising funds, how much
she did say in that overheard at Wimbledon that she was overwhelmed with how much money she raised for the Royal Marsden charity.
Well, it would be, so that's the point. She's been able to highlight that Three Peaks Challenge is not for the faint-hearted, and it shows what she is now, which presumably in a good place physically, and we did see more pictures were released of the children hugging her at the end,
The
greeting.
Middletons,
So, and you go holding hands and just looking pleased from mum, hugs from, just like it's so normal. Because there would have been so many other families doing exactly that. With family members who've completed the challenge.
I can't remember the last time I saw a picture of Prince Harry and Thomas Markle standing next to each other, but there's Prince William standing with the Middletons. They looked so united. It looked so wholesome, and they're all beaming with pride over this woman. And she's not there with a Cheshire cat grin on her face. She's admiring her children in the photo.
Yeah, and James was there as well, and with the dog. So actually, you look at it and go, "Well, that's a proper family. That's what it was about." But actually, the seriousness of it is the benefiting the Royal Marsden and the cancer treatment in this country. And I imagine she has raised significant funds, and hopefully will continue to be put to good use. So that was a really good. It's been a good week from them in terms of and the King. And the Queen just quietly getting on with what she's doing, the Winnie the Pooh stuff and the book, the reading, that's all important to her. Seeing William at that Welsh event as well, but linked to the Commonwealth Games and everything, so that's all good. So they've had a good week, and that's what the PR team will be hoping. And they've got to keep this going. But, as you know, they must be behind the scenes. Also, while they've been doing this good stuff,
Scratching their heads?
Scratching their head, eye rolling, and going, WTF. Right? They will be.
Well, are you ready to move on there yet, or do you have anything?
Well, no, I don't think I have any more comments because I think we've got a lot to dissect.
Well,
and
go ahead.
It does impact on what the King's had to deal with and the whole shenanigans. Forget the court case. Well, let's just do the build-up to his visit. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what you think, but I just think it is ridiculous his way he's behaved over this. Mm-hmm. There's no other, he can't sugarcoat it. Will I, won't I? 1 minute, you could stay at Buckingham Palace, but let us know. No, I won't. Oh, then he says yes, and then they go, too late, we can't just open up proceedings here.
Also, you said no. Mm-hmm. You know, like you rejected the offer. You released a hateful statement about how you released a confrontational statement regarding security, suggesting you are no longer bringing your wife and children, and then you go back to Daddy and say, "By the way, can I borrow a pillow and a roof over my head?" You know, he never considers the consequences of his actions. You know, you and I, for 2 or 3 weeks now, this is our probably 4th week that we've been covering Harry and Meghan's trip to the UK. And, you know, we have debated whether or not it was all a publicity stunt. Would they really come? I think we've said a million times, I'll believe it when I see it. You and I both stressed that Meghan was likely to never return. Looking at the way that it's unfolded, the very bizarre Buckingham Palace confirmation, Harry's staying there, 20 minutes later, Buckingham Palace going, just kidding, no he's not, absolutely not, and then giving us such severe details about that, which is rare for the never complain, never explain crew. What, as an observer, do you lean more towards publicity stunt, this entire thing, or do you think that Harry and Meghan are so short-sighted that they've just stumbled every step of the way?
She thought that they would bend over backwards saying meet the children. The security.
That is right. Rupert she thought that they were going to roll out the red carpet for her and the kids.
And the security issue is just a deflection. It's irrelevant, the security. Have
you seen the crowds for him? They're small.
No, but forget that. No, the security. He will have a degree of security.
Yes,
and people know when he's around. He's going to this event. You can be assured they're not just going to leave him to fend for his own devices. That's why I absolutely won't hear the security excuse. And if they wanted to, they would get on the plane. And
you're right. I mean,
and then they're going to go to Birmingham or they're going to go to Althorp. Why is the issue with round Harry and his family any worse out in other parts of the country than it is in London?
Right, because remember, Earl Spencer told Diana the summer she died that she could not have a property on Althorp because he was incapable of protecting them. And now this is Harry's sanctuary. I mean, there's a contradiction there. It's why Diana was on a yacht with Dodi Al-Fayed, because her brother said, no, I logistically, I can't protect you and your family here. Harry would attract a similar amount of attention with Meghan Markle on that property. Has Earl Spencer enhanced security over there? I don't know. But you're absolutely right. I've become so entrenched in the Buckingham Palace drama on top of the court case that I forgot that there's a security element. There's the security chaos too. I mean, they could have simplified all of this by privately with the king and his advisors, if it's a must, a quiet trip to Windsor, a quiet trip to Sandringham, wherever, without announcing anything to the media. They could have come over. I'm sure if they were doing everything under the radar, they would have been given the resources, helicopters, whatever, to get where they needed to go. And instead, they have leaked every inch of the. I don't understand the leaking to the media every inch of the way is what makes me feel like this was never a sincere reconciliation attempt. That this was all to villainize the royal family yet again. And even when you read his statement, his defiant statement after his loss, you think this guy's out for blood.
Yeah, also, unless I've missed it, Meghan's been deafeningly quiet.
Well, isn't she always when Harry's in trouble?
Yeah.
Doesn't she always disappear when Harry's in an uncomfortable
she has
situation?
disappeared miles away. But if the court case had gone in his favour,
oh yeah, she'd be doing a victory lap.
She'd have been going. There would have been an Instagram post.
We would have had 3 costume changes by now, Rupert.
Yeah. So the whole thing, okay, the court case, but he was at Chatham House. We know that there were certain things he was coming for. So he was always coming because...
But Friday, the day that they were technically supposed to give Buckingham... instead of contacting Buckingham Palace Friday and letting them know that they would or would not be staying there, Friday was the deadline. Instead of doing that, Liam, Harry and Meghan's communications person, sent to the exclusive WhatsApp chat, which is just the elite that, give Harry and Meghan positive attention, and, other people that are trying to be fair, so I don't want to call anybody out. But he sent to the WhatsApp group a very thick itinerary that included Meghan Markle, included some engagements, not royal because she's not royal, but some engagements with Meghan Markle. And so Friday they send out this itinerary to this very small group of journalists that aren't as critical as others.
Yeah.
Saturday, The Sun reports that Ravik has decided that Harry is not going to have any special privileges, no armed guards. He will have some assistance from the government, but he's not going to have the armed guards waiting for him. Harry loses his and tells that's when he decides to tell the palace, no, I'm not staying at Buckingham Palace. Hours later, he comes back, and I imagine it's after his security team has had a come to Jesus with him and said, Buckingham Palace is literally the safest place in the world you could be, and says, can I stay there? And you mentioned it earlier, the logistics just going from a family of 4+ entourage to now one individual. Are you wasting resources? You've given us such a short amount of time. You didn't have the courtesy to meet the deadline in general. The palace says no, and I think that's fair.
Oh, and they should have known this 3 or 4 weeks ago. We're coming to the palace.
Yeah.
Then everyone get in, get on with it. But this is the problem, the soap opera, the drama that they create. And it must be frustrating for the royal household. I don't know what else they could do. Here it is, come. It's a big enough place. We can make it private for you.
Yeah.
And okay, he says, well, people know when I'm coming in and out. Well, you know Buckingham Palace well enough. There's enough probably security around that part of London anyway. Because, Houses of Parliament's just up the road, number 10 Downing Street. There's all...
The King's home is right there.
Yeah, Clarence House.
Clarence House is right there.
It's right next door. So there's so much probably security going on with cameras everywhere. This is where I just think, what the heck?
Are you paranoid?
Well, no, stupid. Let's call it as it is. He just doesn't have the wherewithal, the common sense or whatever, to think logically. He's got his head is scrambled. And I think I know why his head is scrambled. Because I think...
you were saying, Meghan, I initially thought because I've always heard that smoking pot can make you a little slow and makes things hard to process.
No, I think, he's always been not the brightest tool in the box, okay? So, and I think that's part of the problem. And he's now got himself in, he's miserable.
Yeah.
He's in a rut.
Rupert, everything's going wrong. And,
Yeah.
and aren't you sitting back going, is this karma?
Well, I'm not saying it's karma. I just feel, in the end, I'm just going to feel sorry for him.
Well, you're right. I mean, it is the consequences of his own actions and stupidity. But also, he took delight in hurting this family for the first few years of Megxit. You know, he hasn't looked like he felt any sort of guilt towards the mean things he said about Prince William's hairline, or, you know, some of those unnecessary, ugly comments in Spare. He never has seemed to be humbled by that, or, you know, to feel guilty over it. And I think he really took great pleasure in doing what he did at the time. Not only do I think that it was an element of revenge, but it was very lucrative for him financially.
Well, you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
And I think that harvest is now well and truly.
Oh, and let's talk about karma. Karma is writing a book full of a violation of privacy of your own family, and then a court telling you, no, I don't think that you've provided enough evidence to prove that your privacy was violated 20 years ago.
Well, no, but the thing about it, the court case also, the privacy argument that he comes up with, that just has to be dispensed with, because he needs, that family, the Sussexes, need publicity. They need the press. They need to promote Meghan's brand, to promote him, because they are now out on their own. So he needs the press. So if you spend all your time slagging them off, then you're not going to find it easy, unless you've got a few favoured outlets, to get the kind of publicity, because everyone's saying, well, you've just been having a go at us. You've taken us to court. You know, why should we? Why do you deserve good publicity?
Such a good point.
And at the moment, they don't deserve it. Well, Harry doesn't deserve it.
But Rupert, like, what kills me is this trip could have been that. This trip, and the way that it was being positioned to us before the chaos started, Harry's redemption tour. He was going to go to Scotty's Little Soldiers. We were going to see pictures of him rolling around with the kids and the balloon animals. This is all about Invictus. This is all about the veterans. And the cherry on top was poor King Charles with cancer was finally going to get to see his grandchildren for the first time in 4 years. Has hit the fan.
It probably has. And also, with the court ruling going so horribly wrong for him, that has also distracted, because it now flows all the focus on why has he done that. And then what he goes and does, he criticises the British justice system, of which his father is a sort of, you know, I don't know what the term is.
I mean, it's the King's Court. It's the King's Court.
So therefore, he's now saying that everyone's against me. You've got to stop playing the victim. And actually realise, when you're actually going to think, well, actually, some of this is, don't always blame it. If you're blaming everyone else all the time, it probably means most of it is your fault. You are creating the storm, because every time you do something, you don't know how to shut up, right? He doesn't.
No.
And he goes and said it's a whitewash. So he's criticising. This is a respected judge. It was a 460-page document. It wasn't something he just sort of went, I don't like what happened. Here's 2 pages. Every one of the charges there was summing up, and every one of the charges that pertain to Harry, most damning of all, he said he's tried to extemporise his evidence. And as the judge said, you were trying to influence by your position rather than sticking to the facts. And he did say, well, this is something that happens quite a lot. People try and think they can put their case without just sticking to what was the nub and the gist and the brouhaha of this court case, and just stick to that evidence. But instead, no, he said, well, look at me, I'm Harry, and of course I must be right.
Also, why did he bring up his wife, who he met years after the last article was written? You know, totally irrelevant to the case, always looking. Again, Rupert, I go back. I just feel like this was an entire setup so that they could reposition themselves as the victims, as if perhaps maybe they think, because, well, if we're being honest, if you look at culturally where we were in 2020, 2021, it was lucrative to be a victim. You know, people would write testimonials on X or Twitter about some violation that they felt like they experienced, and they'd go viral, and then they'd get interviewed, or they'd set up a GoFundMe, and they were rewarded for that behavior. But I do think that times have changed, and we don't necessarily reward it as much as we do. Did they not get the memo? I just don't understand. Hey everyone, Kinsey Schofield here, and I want to tell you about today's sponsor. It's a total game changer, Peak's Liver Detox Protocol. You may not know it, but your liver handles a lot: energy, hormones, digestion, and even your mood. But with all the stress and toxins from everyday life, it needs some love. Forget harsh cleanses. Peak delivers gentle daily support inspired by traditional Chinese medicine. Their routine uses 2 simple blends. The first is a warming turmeric mix with cinnamon and black pepper, designed to help the body absorb it better and support the liver while calming inflammation. The second is a ginger and cinnamon blend that helps with blood flow, digestion, bloating, and immune support. The magic is how they work together to activate and flush for better digestion, stable energy, less brain fog, and that light, clear feeling. My energy is consistent, my skin is clear, and less bloating. That's Peak, where spirit meets science. Redefine your standard of health, secure 20% off your order, and begin your intentional wellness journey today at peaklife.com/Kinsey. That's PIQUE life.com/Kinsey. Thanks so much.
In Harry's case, they are clutching at straws. And if they want to, Meghan, hates this country, or certainly is not someone who really was comfortable here, yet she's living off everything that this country offers, which is a title, the Duchess of Sussex, which she is trying to connect with, yet at the heart of it, she really cannot be bothered. Now, if she had any good sense, she'd be here gritted through gritted teeth if need be, and just get on with it and show and say, right, but this is a family issue. But here is a woman who has no relation, for whatever reasons, with her extended family. And now Harry is struggling to get any sort of relationship with his extended family. And what's the common denominator? And also, when you've got somebody who, would he have really wanted to take that freedom flight? I don't know.
Wow, yeah.
And hindsight. And yes, he's now had a book offer and a Netflix series and all the other, but now what's he doing? What's he got now that is going to enable him to feel fulfilled? And that is the issue that I think for a 40-something man, he's got 2 children, he should be enjoying that. He should be thinking, I chose this path, I should be happy. But seeing the pictures of him this week...
Oh, he looks defeated.
He looks browbeaten.
Yeah.
And his cause célèbre of this court case has come back to bite him, but not just, it's chopped off at him. It's gone really so wrong, because he had nothing, he couldn't say anything. If he'd won one of the cases, that would have given him partial vindication, and he would have been able to say, look, I'm right. In one case. But now, because the whole thing was thrown out for all of the people in that court case, it now looks like, well, Harry, why did you even bother to go to court? You've now made yourself look a little foolish.
Look a little foolish, because we've talked over the last few months about this evolution, the anti-Semitism article that he wrote showing up in the Ukraine and challenging President Trump, Putin. He's definitely trying to position himself as an authority on anything, authority on something, and an authority on anything. And here's a judge saying, I don't think you're very credible. No. I think that's a knock on him. But we also have a 50,000 pound debt that has to be settled for Associated Papers lawyers. and it's my understanding it will be split between
50,000.
or 50 million.
Yeah.
And it's my understanding that
If they were 50,000, those were the cheapest lawyers you've ever had.
in my head, I always am like so worried to talk about numbers because I want to say dollars. So
Well,
much
well,
instead
50
of
million
pounds.
something,
yeah,
anyway.
50 million something.
Yeah.
And so, it would be split between the Elton Johns and the Liz Hurleys and the Prince Harrys. They also all took out insurance claims, and insurance will cover part of it, but not all of it because the costs were so unreal with Associated Papers in the Daily Mail. However, the judge specifically says in that 400-page document that some of these cases perhaps should not have been included in this because of the statute of limitations. And if the insurance company decides that that was on the lawyers, that they did something inappropriate or that they presented something they shouldn't have that might have cost them the case, the insurance company can refuse to pay out the claim.
Well, exactly. And David Sherburn does not come cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the most expensive lawyers out there. You know, he's a sort of showbiz lawyer, basically. He loves being the centre of attention. Well, this is the first time that, he has the ability to
Egg on his face?
Well, he's got egg on his face. Yeah. But the trouble is, he probably is thinking, Harry, because Harry hasn't got the intellectual capacity.
Well, Rupert, do you remember in Spare, where Harry actually discusses meeting him? It was Harry actually writes about it like it's kismet, like it's a light bulb moment where they meet each other at Elton John's party. Mm-hmm. And this lawyer says to him, well, why don't you ever go after these people? And Harry's like, why don't I go after these people? And he talks about it like it's God, the clouds parting, and he's like, this is my legacy. And what you're just describing and what Harry's describing, it almost sounds the same. Like, let's rope in the idiot. Yeah. And we'll get all the headlines we need. Having one of the king's children challenging the court is so unprecedented that maybe it'll sway in our direction. I mean, it does kind of sound like a setup, in my opinion, for the lawyers out there. It sounds like a setup.
Well, it was supposed to be Harry's destiny that he'd be taking on the mighty British press and leave them walking away with the tail between the legs and everything they said was right. Well, this was a reasoned judgment, really well thought out, analysed everything, and it seems like in most of the people's cases, they were all trying, it was on very thin ground. And as a result, when it's taken however many months for them to come to this verdict, for Harry, what hasn't helped is it's the week he's here, they've announced it. Yeah. And when he's now trying to promote things that he believes in, which is Invictus Games, well, that now there's been a lot of deflection from that because obviously the main focus is on this court case, which he thought he was going to win, and then it would fit in with his, and he could have a triumphant tour. Look at me, I've taken on the British press and won, and look at what I'm involved in. Now, rather, he's going to these events rather sheepishly, as we saw at Chatham House yesterday. There was a man who wasn't exactly speaking with all the conviction in the world because presumably he knew the result, and he knew that once that had finished, this would be released, and then the spotlight's on him. And then he even has the stupidity to come up with a statement blaming the judge, and the judge has not done his job right. Well, sorry, this is just not any old judge. And that's what I just can't get. Is why does he think that there is going to be a huge conspiracy theory against him? The press, there may have been, back in the 90s, it was a bit Wild West-like. But the press has had to change.
It's evolved.
It's evolved. And and the media landscape with all the Instagram, the social media, it's a completely different ballgame. So back in the day, you weren't filmed everywhere you go. So for celebrities, it is difficult. Forget the press. It's Joe Public is out there with their phone. Oh, look, there's X filming. And that was the interesting thing about going back to the Princess of Wales's walk. There were lots of people filming, and they all waited. Presumably, her people said, "Would you mind just not?" You know, they would have seen them filming. Wait until we do it, and then crack on.
And nobody's actually said that, but you're right. Nobody gave it away.
Yeah.
She announced it, and then we saw the avalanche.
So
of
I
people.
assume, I would just
Also,
think.
we should also say, because I thought this was so sweet, one of the boys she met while hiking, afterwards, after she sat and talked to him and his family about the cause that they were climbing for, she went and donated to it.
Yeah.
She's just so precious.
Well, I mean, in a way, there were a sort of camaraderie from doing something like that. So you've been through something together, and you are supporting each other. Forget who you are. She still did it, and she didn't fake it. You know, she wasn't helicoptered from A to B. I assume the way you do it properly, she was driven to A to B, because that's where you get your 5 hours kip. If you're driving from Snowdonia from Schofield to Snowdon, I think it might be 5 hours or whatever it is. And then you've got to shin up this or yomp up this mountain.
It's at least 5. That's 5 episodes of Heirs and Spares. You think she's watched 5 episodes of Heirs and Spares while she was in the car?
I don't think it may be top of her must. I'm not sure why not, but anyway.
Who doesn't have a crush on Rupert Bell?
Well, anyway, whatever. I don't know how to answer that again. You're embarrassing me again, Kinsey. but I do think that was good. Whereas for Harry now, he's not able to get the positive. Now he goes to Invictus, and everyone will be analysing where is he at.
Did he meet his dad? Did he have a secret meeting with his dad?
Forget that, but where does he... Is this crushing for him?
Right.
Where does it leave him? You know, because he talks about his mental health and
Where's
everything.
Meghan? I mean, basically, it's this a giant distraction bubble over him. A million questions because he didn't plan a clean trip. He muddied the waters with every statement, with every leak, with every attack on the palace, because he's attacked the palace several times since he's been over here. With every one of those things, he distracted from the ultimate cause, which is Invictus. And at the end of the day, I think that disappoints all of us, because this should be about the veterans.
Yeah. And this is Invictus are obviously trying. It's a tough landscape to raise funds for these sort of things. So you'd hope they'd have a chance. But Meghan's silence is deafening, and not even Whereas quite often when we see William and Catherine do something, up pops something from the Sussex camp. Well, at the moment, we're seeing absolutely nothing.
Because
and no support.
Meghan goes quiet when Harry's in a difficult situation. She wasn't sitting next to Harry during the BBC interview where he accuses his father of not supporting his security pursuits, and says his father, he doesn't know how much longer his father has to live. Meghan disappeared. I mean, I need to think of more examples, because I've had this conversation already today, and I apologize. But, where was she when he was being tormented over some very specific chapters of Spare? He became a punchline on late night TV. Meghan disappears. When things aren't going their way, I don't think she'll be at Invictus on Friday. Harry's team's still teasing that she might be. I don't think she will, because I don't think she wants to be on the arm of a loser.
And I think that at the moment, he looks a loser and a beaten man. He may be trying to, this is his cause, this is something he believes in. And if she is, why can't she find it in her soul just to be there, through thick and thin? Marriage is, there are good times and there are bad times. So this may not be a straightforward time, but in support of the family, it may look good. I'm here. But trouble is, she'll want it to turn it into about her.
Yeah.
And Invictus Games don't want that, because the spotlight should be on Harry, announcing the fact that in a year's time, competitors, we saw Harry giving something to the members of the Ugandan delegation who will be competing there next year, doing the work around promoting it, which he's good at.
Yeah.
But he's much better at it when he's on his own.
Oh, 100%.
Because he doesn't get distracted, and the story, because inevitably Meghan will turn up in a white dress so that she can be photographed.
And then she'll change 3 times throughout the day. I want to ask you something, though, based on what you're saying. I spoke to Russell Myers from the Mirror, and he told me that it's his understanding that Meghan has tried to insert herself deeper into Invictus. She says she wants to be more involved because she believes in the cause. And we're saying, Harry, show up by yourself. You're stronger solo. Does it concern you that there are reports from the Mirror, from Russell Myers, saying that Meghan is trying to insert herself more in this cause?
What I do know around the last Invictus Games is there were a lot of last-minute changes which had to involve Meghan.
That we're catering to her.
We're catering to her.
And guess what? We heard the same thing with Senabale.
Yeah.
Dr. Sophie Shandaka saying all of a sudden we had to change venues because Harry and Meghan wanted to bring the Netflix cameras. All of a sudden Meghan and Serena Williams were coming. That created a huge security problem. All of a sudden we needed a VIP space for them. You're right. When Meghan comes, so does a whole slew of new assignments.
Yeah, and it meant changes to programs and everything. So I'm told. But, you know, but we saw her there, and she wasn't there for the whole thing. But I'm also told that when it didn't have the Meghan circus, he was a much more relaxed individual because he didn't have to worry about the circus. He could just worry about what he was good at, which is interacting with the service people who are competing there, and it's their story. Because inevitably, when she's there, it no longer becomes the story about the competitors at the Invictus Games. And that's what it should always be about. It should be about promoting and championing these brave people who often put their bodies on the line on behalf of their respective countries. And then...
And the resilience of continuing to want to live, want to fight, want to compete. And, you know, the resilience of waking up and you know, instead of... Harry dwelling on the past and being a miserable person, they pursue greatness. I mean, that is such an incredible story. And Harry should not be the face of it based on the life he's lived over the last 6 years.
Yeah, and look, and I know, okay, he was in Afghanistan, but then we didn't have to hear all about it. And I know he was frustrated that he couldn't, I think in the second tour, be a more active soldier, because obviously there again, you know, it would be great propaganda if something had happened to him for the other side. So it is a very difficult situation for a member of the royal family when they do join the armed forces. You know, think about Andrew. He was on the front line during the Falklands War against Argentina in the 80s. He was flying a helicopter, but he was out there doing his bit. And Harry did do his bit in the first tour of duty, but it's now when it comes to Invictus Games, if it's going to be his cause célèbre, then he has to make it. And then, yes, if Meghan's there, but it has to be, right, a much more, they need to be controlled because it needs to stop. If Meghan does turn up on Friday, or whenever, if she does turn up next year in Birmingham, then we don't want it about her, because I want it for Meghan, for Harry to be seen to be really championing these brave competitors who, some with probably really serious injuries they sustained, but they found a way to get competing and finding a purpose in life. And so for Meghan around the Invictus Games, and particularly this week, you almost don't want her there. No. Because look, she's back in Britain, and then that will forget the story of Invictus Games. Distract. And we don't want that. So for Harry, this week is, will he learn anything from this week? Therein lies the problem. But
I would not have released that statement. I would have wanted to sit back and digest what happened and wondered if the universe was trying to teach me any lessons from it. And instead, again, I think that somebody told me he could be held in contempt for it. I'm not sure if that's true, but you know, can I ask you, that maybe this is the paranoid bit in me, and maybe we should go get some tinfoil out of the common area for my conspiracy theory, but I wondered if they wanted to really kick up a stink and embarrass the royal family this trip to try to force their hand and have a presence of the royal family at Birmingham. You know, if it looks like the king didn't see his grandchildren, didn't make Prince Harry feel safe, would he feel obligated to support Prince Harry at Birmingham? Because people like Bauer have reported that that's Harry's ultimate objective, to have them up there supporting him when he comes back next year.
I think the interesting thing will be next year, because you would have thought that for a major event like that, and with the royal family's connection to the military, that is going to be the interesting one. Mm-hmm. Will the king be there for that? Bearing in mind when Invictus...
But could this have all been a plan to try to manipulate him to agree to that? What we are...
in a way, I don't think there's anything to agree. Forget if there had been a soap opera around this and the Harry thing. If there wasn't, and Harry was still a member of the royal family, it would be perfectly normal. Because I imagine we've got the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow later on this month. Mm-hmm. I would be assuming that members of the royal family will be attending that at various stages. Mm-hmm. Because obviously it's the Commonwealth Games and the royal family has a strong, that's the whole point of Britain and the Commonwealth.
Right.
So there will be members. I don't know whether that means the King or Queen will be at the opening ceremony, closing ceremony, you name it, I don't know. Will the Princess Royal go? Will the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh go? Fair chance. Will the Prince and Princess of Wales go? I would assume so.
Yeah.
So they would go to that under normal circumstances. Next year's Invictus Games, again, with all of them having military connections and responsibilities, the Princess of Wales, Irish Guards, and various colonel, she's attached to various regiments, parts of the armed forces, the same for the Prince of Wales, same for the King, Queen, you name it. You would expect them to go at various stages. I wouldn't necessarily expect...
I don't know if I would expect them to go after Spare and the Oprah interview and the Netflix series.
No, but I think you've got to divorce that and say...
And just say because of
if you forget all that soap opera side of it, and actually, is there responsibilities for something like the Invictus Game, which is celebrating...
if I were the royal family, I'd send Beatrice and Eugenie.
Well, no, but I also think for the service people who are there competing...
I know what you're saying.
And it would mean more...
You're being very mature about this.
If the king should be there.
Oh, but our audience is going to...
No,
You're being too mature right now.
Well, I'm a little older than you.
I know exactly what you're saying. It would be so meaningful to these people that have sacrificed so much.
They would want them there. Yes. And the royal family in these circumstances...
But again, that's Harry's emotional blackmail.
Well, no, but it's not. They would just say, Harry, they need to then say to Harry, put up, shut up, we're coming, we're doing our thing, and yes, it's your baby, and great, but I think actually you'll find out I think it's less his baby than we let on.
Right.
But of course he's the one who's adopted.
He's the ambassador, he's the face of it. But you know what, I also think back to David Beckham showing up to support him, and according to Tom Bauer, because there was some friction between the Beckhams, between the Beckhams and Meghan Markle, not Harry, but Meghan specifically told Harry to refuse any photos with him. So David Beckham made the trek to be there at the Invictus Games to support Harry, and Harry dodged him like a bullet the entire time. And it's my understanding that really hurt David Beckham. I mean, he just got a knighthood. He's in real good with the actual king, so he's in a better place now. But my point is that Harry and co don't actually appreciate it when people do show up for them.
Well, no, and this is... But for the Invictus Games, 12 months down the line, things will have moved on apace. We don't know where it's going to be in a year's time. And so let's just hope.
But it ain't crawling in a positive direction.
Well, now, at the moment, this week, all the events, so we don't need other members of the royal family at the launch ceremony, which I think is in the NEC, right? So we don't need that. But next year, and it just as with the Commonwealth Games, I just do think they will be there, and they should be there. But very much telling Harry, if he's going to be there for the whole, however long it lasts, yes, you can be there, you can be the sort of continuous mascot. And then at the same time, the King could be there at an opening ceremony and celebrating what's going to be happening.
And not take pictures with Harry, not be seen to be endorsing his son.
Look,
I would advise against that. You're giving him credibility in that. But the King could have a presence there without being photographed with Harry.
You'd hope. What if they are going to be in the same room? You would have hoped they would have had a meeting between now and this time next year. Mm-hmm. I'm not holding my breath on that. Mm-mm. But also, that's why this week is it's been such a big moment for Harry. But will he have grasped the significance of what happened and saying, oh, this isn't going as well as it should be? This court case has bitten me now big time, £50 million worth of big time, and I don't know who's bankrolling him for that, because I sincerely hope he doesn't go begging to the royal family that I'm on my uppers. He's going to
have to join OnlyFans.
Well, he's just going to have to tell his wife to sell some more spread.
Or feet pictures.
Or box of matches. And then they have box of matches.
You got those for free if you spent an ungodly amount of money.
So just find a way. And that's why this is, I think, a very significant week for him to actually say, I've got to reevaluate how I'm conducting myself. And if I do want to repair damage with my family, how do we go about it? But as you've said already in this program, that WhatsApp group, it's basically been on fire with tittle-tattle coming to them, or not tittle-tattle, but the Sussex's side of the story, which has actually ended up creating the confusion and bad feeling, because anyone I've spoken to just go, what's he thinking about?
Yeah.
But the trouble is, I'm not sure he does enough thinking, because he can't.
No, he can't. Well, agree with us, disagree with us, let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Rupert Bell, what a marathon.
How long did we do?
Almost an hour, bro.
Yeah, and this is only water, viewers. Next time I'm in the studio, could it make sure it's, anyway, whatever.
Can we make sure it's brown?
It's not vodka anyway.
It's not vodka, unfortunately. Let us know how you feel in the comments below, and thanks so much for watching. We appreciate you. I'm Kinsey Schofield. Rupert Bell, legend.
Lovely to see you again in the flesh.
Legend. Bye, guys.